started. Let's see, where are we? Well, I believe last time we met, we had just covered Redux and used it as as an alternative mechanism for maintaining state on the client side. We contrasted it with the out-of-the-box mechanism for maintaining state, right? With having a container that then shares that state across all its children, and we covered Redux as an alternative to that, not necessarily native to React, but an alternative that addresses some of the issues of having to share a centralized state across multiple components that share that state. Nevertheless, that was only client-side state, so that if you refresh the page, any changes that you had made to the user interface were lost. Right? There was no way to store it anywhere else. So today, I'd like to start discussing how is it that we would maintain state outside of the client side, outside of the browser, by providing services. Server-side web services that would allow us to send or post or save this state outside of the client side and store it perhaps on a server that lives elsewhere. So today we'll talk about how to do that, how to expose a data model that will allow us to maintain state across multiple requests. Right now. When you refresh the page, the request is lost. Right? Any information that you had on the browser is gone. There is an alternative where you could store in the local browser. The local browser has some storage, very much like you have a cookie. You can store information on a cookie, but there's a new API such as local storage allows you to store an entire JSON objects, a JSON string, as part of the browser that you could use to store information, retrieve it later on, and restart where you left off. But that would only be true for the current browser that you're looking at right now. If you go to a different browser and you try to log in, none of that information would be available to you, right? Only in that particular browser. And nevertheless, also you can throw out that information will be gone. So today we'll take a look at how we could save that state information off the browser onto a server. We're going to be using the server's memory, right? In-memory storage. So any variables, any instances that we instantiate, we're going to be saving it there, so that if we ever reboot the server, all that information is gone. Right? But it will survive several requests. So if you make one request, you'll still get the same information that you had previously. We'll also take a look at a session. So if I log in, I'll have my own information. If you log in, you have your own information. So we can have session-based communication. So that we can have a conversation with the server. So not yet. We won't store it in a database. Next week, we'll come back and store it in a database. First, we'll take a look at storing it in a relational database using Java Persistent API. We'll come back later and add to this and use NoSQL instead, using MongoDB a little later. Okay, that's where we are. So when we finish next week, we'll have completed our faculty side of the application, right, where faculties can create courses, sections, lessons, topics. Then we will come back on week 8. We'll start working on the student side of the application, where somebody might log in as a student and be able to consume the content that was generated by faculty. And for that, we're going to use an entirely different framework, a completely different stack. We'll use Angular for the front end. We'll use Node.js for the middle tier. And we use MongoDB for the database. All right?